Businesses are faced with reinventing themselves by introducing technologies and automations that will reduce their labor force. Instead of hiring 100 employees coming out of COVID-19, businesses that adopt automations may only need to hire 50 employees. So, should businesses adopt automation first and fill the employee gap later, or should businesses start, with the end in sight and then reverse engineer their operation essentially?
So the answer to the question is yes. In other words, there's no or here. You do both. You do both plus anything else you can do to find the best configuration that works for you. I don't really believe. I strongly believe in standardization, but I don't.
You firmly believe in what now?
Standardization.
Standardization. Okay.
I strongly believe in standardization. I don't believe that much in one size fits all, and I think that when it comes to making changes, when it comes to innovation, when it comes to continuous improvement, you have to be opportunistic about it. There's absolutely no reason for you to choose just one direction to go, and you should evaluate all possibilities. So that's one comment that I have. Another thing is that in one of the characteristics of innovative idea or solution is what we call specificity. Normally, when we encounter a problem, we look for a solution. We want something as generic as possible. We want one solution that we applied across the board, every time, everywhere, which is great. But when you study ideas and solutions that are perceived as very innovative or inventive or creative, you find a very strong element of specificity. This solution will only work for this company, for this product line, and for this year. The more specific your solution is, the more innovative it is perceived as. So part of the thinking process will be to try and find those very specific solutions. Now, there are already a lot of ongoing efforts in the world regarding automation. And again, there's no need to reinvent the wheel if there's a really good, reliable one that you can buy off the shelf. I think that what I see companies do are two things. First of all, the focus is on skill sets. So instead of looking at employees' functions that could be easily replaced in some cases by automation, you look at their skill set and you try to create or complement their existing skill sets with other skills that can keep them in the system, still rely on their loyalty, expertise, familiarity with the business and with the company, their alignment with company values and culture. You don't want to give these away, okay? So this is one direction. The other direction is that we have to remember that when you lose team members for automation, you have to hire new people to fulfill these new positions. You need people who now with expertise on automations and operations and programming and data knowledge management and data analysis. And sometimes you can help existing employees to acquire those needed skills and keep them in the system. So again, for me, it's not either or, it's both.
I mean, I think that's a very good delineation in which I know myself, I've kind of never looked at it in that sense, where a lot of times small businesses will think of automating the processes so that it serves the customer, as opposed to automating the processes to fit your existing employees or perhaps the employee culture that you want to create. So I think that's a very different way of looking about bringing in automations into a business.
I agree. And I think I grew up in a world that is basically customer-centric. And I keep reminding myself that as much as I'm proud of, our products or services or delivery, this will not happen if we will not be around. So for me, caring for your brand and for your business is as important as caring for your clients.
All right, so I want to break up a little bit of the monotony of these problem solvers. So I did have, there's a couple of people that submitted some questions in advance, and for those that are in attendance, if you do have a question, either type it in or again, you can save it till the very end. So this is Brent from Fullerton, California, and he says, I help run my dad's dental business, and I fear that we will have to see less patients in a given day in order to adhere to the social distancing measures. If we are seeing less patients in a day, then we will have to push back a lot of appointments. How can I ensure that by pushing back appointments that I do not lose our existing patients to other offices? That's interesting. I mean, I think that actually is a problem that I certainly haven't thought about myself, and that is, with the social distancing measures for all the small businesses, the retailers that are bringing people back in to their shop, to their store, there's going to be a max capacity now that businesses are going to be, required to handle, which means that the people that aren't being serviced next week, tomorrow kind of thing, right now, they may find alternative businesses to go to. How would you advise on this for Brent?
So again, I'm trying not to quickly offer solutions, but I want to start with a provocation. I want to say upfront that it's important to remember that not every problem is solvable. You learn that when you do a lot of problem solving. It also has some kind of a humility factor. It reminds you that, sometimes you have to know where to stop. So that's one point. And the other point, some problems it doesn't pay to solve. And this is something that it's important to understand upfront. And many times when I work with a team on solving problems, we will start by asking two questions. First of all, what are the constraints? What is the limits of our influence or control? Because coming up with ideas and solutions that you have no way of implementing is just create frustration. And the other question that I would ask, how much are we willing to invest in a solution? If it means that I need to turn my business upside down and get involved in adventures that I might not survive, maybe it doesn't pay. So having said that not every problem have a solution, it not always pay to solve a problem. Again, I would start by challenging some assumptions. First of all, can we provide shorter treatment? Can we take some of the treatment, conduct some of the treatment in the clinic and some of it somewhere else, whether it's the patient's house or a close by different clinic, maybe any other health facility that meets the basic health standards. Can we break the treatment itself into smaller parts? This is another thing that I see mostly I think in the last year. It's a trend that I think I spot, I don't know yet, and I'm very happy about it, that more and more people and organizations, after describing or defining the problem, make another small effort and fragmentizing the problem, trying to break it into the tiniest pieces possible. And many times this by itself gives you more degrees of freedom. And this is the same thing that I will do here. I will map the treatment process step by step, and step by step means really high resolution. And then look at every step and ask myself, what can I change here? Either in the way I do it, where I do it, how I do it, who is delivering it. Maybe it's something that is not done by me. Maybe something that as a caretaker, I used to do on my own, and a combination of 30 or 40 different actions now can be designated to others. So this is the way I look at it. I will break it down into pieces, and I will challenge the associated assumptions.
Yeah. Okay. I like that fragmentation part. Okay, so let's go to the third problem here. Third problem, we're going to be looking at supply chain. So manufacturers will have the decision to alter their supply chains. Suppliers may be relocated out of China. Manufacturers may find suppliers in new locations, and even still, manufacturers may optimize existing supply chain operations. So again, we're looking at either relocating suppliers, finding new suppliers, or just optimizing the supply chain.